Hi, my name is Stephen McGee and I'm the author of Health Forensics, and we're here to review this experiment. Now, this experiment involves growing Dieffenbachias connected to the electrical grounding system, and how we're doing that is we're using a plug right here, and this pin is the grounding pin in America, and we have a grounding cable coming out and it goes into the pot on both plants. So you can see right here. So both soils on these two plants are connected to the electrical grounding system. And the reason why we have such a difference in growth rates is this one is much older. So this is a plant that dates back to 2012 when I started researching stray voltage for the book Toxic Electricity. And this plant is actually featured in Toxic Electricity, and it has a fine canopy of leaves up at the top, and it also has a very different canopy of leaves about halfway down on that plant. So the plant is actually now looking very, very different, and it's not looking very healthy at all. So a few years of electrical exposure to this plant have really turned it into a very retarded plant. And I should mention, this exposure is not just from the electrical system, but it's also from extensive biologically toxic radio wave fields that are propagating throughout the home. And it causes all the Dieffenbachias that come into my home to deform. So it's getting multiple exposures, but one thing for sure is this electrical exposure that it gets from the grounding pin on the electrical system does not seem to be very beneficial to it at all. It's actually one of the worst looking plants in the home. It has these very small leaves on it. Now, the Dieffenbachia typically has leaves the size of your hand, and you can clearly see that's not the case in this plant. And the biggest leaf that we see on it is up at the top. It has a little bit of patterning, but it's almost all green, very little patterning at all in it. You can see it's got a shiny radio frequency exposure to the leaf. And radio frequency exposures typically make plant leaves that are normally dull, they go shiny like this. So it's a very sickly plant. So let's have a little look at this one. This one's a bit younger. It's actually looking better. So this one was connected to the electrical grounding system on August 2015, and it's now January 2016. So this is still in the process of deforming, but when it came into the house it looked like this. So this is what the Dieffenbachia is supposed to look like. It has big, large leaves, typically the size of your hand. And as it's going through the deforming process, it started putting up these smaller leaves, and they're shiny. So it's radio frequency exposure right there. And you're probably wondering, what's the exposure coming off the grounding system? Well, it's also radio frequency exposure. There's an extensive range of radio frequencies on the electrical grounding system. It comes from all the electronic products that are plugged into it, and also electronic power generation systems such as solar and wind. They put a lot of high frequencies onto the electrical grounding system. So it's very common to find the electrical grounding system radiating radio wave fields from anything that is connected to it. So we're going to wrap up this experiment because I'm actually moving to a different home and I no longer have access to this electrical grounding system. So that's what it did to the Dieffenbachia after many years of exposure. So 2012 onwards gave us this plant, and as I say, this one's looking better simply because it's younger. So I would expect it to probably end up looking like that with a few years of exposure to this electrical grounding system. If you want to find out more about what these exposures do to plants, you'll find it in Health Forensics. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I wish you the very best of health. Thank you.